sobbing over mundane things like bridesmaid dresses. He really believes that she's a person that's in pain. No, this is a 40-year-old woman who manipulated her way from the bottom to the top by marrying somebody who was the producer on the show who gave her her start in life, then divorcing him and finding a prince that is too thick to see what everybody else in the entire world can see. And of course, by the way, he's got an incredible memory when it comes to his conversations with Meg. He's got an incredible memory about every instance that he and Willie have a bang up and a mash up, and every time that they exchange words. But during a particular phone call in which Willie clearly laid out for him why he disliked Meghan, point by point by point, explaining to him how rude she had been to people that worked at the palace, how rude she had been to Kate. Harry, his memory just goes foggy. He says he's too tired to remember what Willie had even said on the phone. He was just too exhausted. He doesn't remember anything that Willie said in that entire discussion.
Are you serious?
That disallows us to then assess whether or not Willie maybe had some points about the fact that he was concerned that his brother was going to marry someone that everyone thinks is a sociopathic narcissist. He can't remember that part. It's too foggy. All he remembers from that conversation,
okay, I'm listening. You have my attention,
are that her tears were glistening. Meghan overheard it, and her tears were glistening as she held her belly, and she was pregnant before she threatened to kill her unborn child. So, yeah, it goes on and on with how many times we learn that Meghan cried and was in a heap and was in a puddle, and I think we're supposed to feel bad for her. And Harry, I think by the end of this book, you're supposed to realize that Harry is just a really sad, unfortunate person. And because he was born to give a spare kidney to his brother or something that just so factually, listen, that conversation never happened. Fact. Okay? It just never, the bone marrow discussion never happened. You're supposed to feel bad for him. And I'm going to tell you how I actually feel about him. I think Harry is the worst kind of person that this planet has to offer. There is something about betraying family members to me that completely sickens me. But doing it for profit puts him on another level. He wants to keep bringing up his mother.
Are you serious?
Because he is now using his mother as a shield, right? He's basically saying, I am allowed to be an awful human being. I am allowed to sell out my nieces, my nephews, my brother, my father, my stepmother, even my dead mother, because that's what he's doing in this book. He's using his mother's death to shield himself and to earn himself millions in America. A death that he said he wasn't impacted by. He admits he doesn't remember much about the death at all. But now, because he wants to have memories about it, just like he can start his life off as a multimillionaire in America, right? He basically says, you can't judge me because I suffered something, which was obviously very tragic. Any person that loses a relative, a mother, a father, a grandparent, is always very tragic. And with this much publicity, of course it was very tragic. He suffered a tragedy. But he wants you to believe that because he has suffered this tragedy, he is allowed to be a bad person. That's what he is. Prince Harry is a bad person. He is rotten to his core.
Stop it.
Okay? He will do anything for money. He is a prostitute, right? He is prostituting himself out right now in Los Angeles, going around talking about his family members for profit while trying to convince you that the reason that he's doing
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
It is because they spoke to the press not for profit, right? But for their reputation. He's saying they did it to salvage their reputation. So I'm doing it openly for profit. I'm going to sit down with the press that I purport to hate. I want you to believe that I hate the press so much because they took my mom from me, but also that I am colluding with them every single day to make more money. There is a special place in hell reserved for people like Prince Harry. I honestly believe that. He is despicable. I can't even look at him. He's relegated to beyond the D list when it comes to my feelings personally towards him. His wife, in the same way that he has mined this tragedy from his childhood and is using it to shield himself, his wife, who never once ever mentioned throughout her entire life and career that she was black, definitely would never think that she was black if you looked at her. Nobody had any idea she was black. But when she decided that she wanted to be a rotten individual and do something bad,
okay,
it became beneficial for her to suddenly start being Black, right? She had not a single Black relative outside of her mother at her own wedding. Unless you count Oprah, who's not a relative at all, but was someone that she was about to sell her husband's family down the river to, right? She had Oprah and Gayle King at her wedding. Those were her two Black friends, her Black billionaire friends that she had at the wedding. None of her Black family members. Now all of a sudden she wants you to know, at the ripe age of 40, she had decided to take a DNA test to figure out just how Nigerian am I?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Am I Nigerian enough that I can go out and talk horribly about my new husband's family, that I can speak down to Kate Middleton, that I can trash Charlotte, that I can say and drop hints that the royal family is racist?
Are you serious?
That they asked questions about my unborn son's skin color? Can I do all of that and then say, oh, but I'm Black and it's because of racism, so you guys have to be on my side, right? She's literally the most racist person featured in this book is Meghan, because she only decided to be Black when she realized that she could rake in millions by being Black.
Fact.
At the very end of her actress career, it became important for her to talk about how Black she was as she sat in Frogmore Cottage, plotting with her despicable husband how they were going to leave the royal family and have nobody bat an eye. And it was easy. They were just going to say they left because of racism. You are both rotten to your core, and other people might be fearful to say that because they have realized your shields are powerful. You've got Princess Diana, and you've got being Black. I'm not fearful to say it. I really do believe that you guys are going to get it as good as you get, as good as you give it. I wish somebody would sue you for defamation, because I would love for somebody to pursue the information about how long these two were in talks with Netflix and in talks with Oprah. Because I will tell you, it was while they were in the royal family. They were plotting all of this. They were plotting this, filming themselves. It is so obvious. But you know,
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
the royal family is not going to sue you for defamation. So instead, I am just going to call you guys both out for being terrible individuals. And I implore my listeners to allow this to be the only thing that you do as far as it goes to reading this book. Let it be just this podcast that you listen to and you get.
Joined by Candace Owens. Candace, you're our newest colleague here at the Daily Wire. We're excited to have you. My first question is, I know you've only been here for a few days, but who's your favorite coworker here at the Daily Wire?
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
That is a really good question. I'm going to have to go ahead and say the makeup artists.
As long as you didn't say Michael Knowles or one of the other hosts, that's fine. That's what I was worried about. How do you? So you got to Tennessee. I talked to you off air last week, and you were talking about your experience driving here with a baby. And I did that with 4 kids, so I know a little bit about that. You've been to Tennessee. Have you assimilated into the culture yet? I mean, the pickup truck, the cowboy boots, and all that. Have you done that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was actually the second day at Tennessee. My husband was like, we're doing 2 things. We're going to the gun shop and we're going to go buy a pair of cowboy boots. Gun shop didn't go well because we still have our DC driver's license. So you have to have a Tennessee license to buy a gun. So we still have to wait for that. But it wasn't difficult to assimilate into the culture because I think actually that was my culture. Like, I'm conservative, right? So I was actually a fish out of water living in DC. Here, I'm like, this is great. Everybody thinks like me. So it's been awesome. I'm just happy to be in the South. It feels like this is where people are sane. And I mean, I guess you can't relate because you weren't in LA, but Daily Wire was in Los Angeles, and it really is the land of the living dead.
Are you serious?
Doing LA, New York, and DC.
Yeah. I was living in Pennsylvania. You had accused me of living in Canada. So that was, you spread a rumor online that I lived in Canada.
The internet spread that rumor, and I believed it.
The internet spread it because you said it. So
it was QAnon stuff. It was like Matt Walsh lives in Canada, and I fell for it. I don't know. The internet's a dangerous place.
To this day, the worst insult anyone has ever leveled at me is being a Canadian. So I want to talk about your show. We'll talk about your show in a minute. But first, just to go over some of the stuff happening in the news, want to get your thoughts on a few of it. I guess we have to begin with the royal family because that's what everyone's talking about. I know you've been
I've been very vocal.
You've been on top of it. So I have two questions, and the first one is a serious question because I really am hoping you can shed some light on this. Why does anyone care about these god-awful people? So we'll start with that. Why do you think people care that much?
Wait for it.
So I have to say, I never had an appreciation for the royals, right? It's something that Americans don't really jive with. It never made sense to me. But I fell in love and married an Englishman, right? And so I kind of learned to appreciate the significance of the Queen.
Oh my God!
And really understanding that there's been something in their country that has remained solid and has not changed over time. Difficult for Americans to comprehend because we don't really do tradition. We're kind of like tear it down, old building, tear it down, build something new, tear it down, build something new. So that's the reason I think why people follow the royals. Now, I don't care at all for the Harry and Meghan thing, except for the political undertones of somebody saying, I'm not liked, therefore it's because I'm 25% black.
That doesn't make sense.
Like that stuff bothers me, whether we're talking about Democrats saying it, we see that pollution all throughout Hollywood. So this Hollywood star going into a country that really sort of loves its traditions.
Okay.
And then accusing them of being fundamentally racist. It's just like, let's keep the American BS race narrative at least within the bounds of America. Let's not extend it overseas to Europe because they have a different culture there. They've been around much longer. England never had slaves in its country. And by the way, in terms of worldwide slavery, the Englishmen were the first to abolish it. So she's sort of relying on American ignorance and the race obsession in America and extending it overseas. It's really bothersome. It's irksome.